Ladies and gentlemen, Marina V.
Hey guys, my name is Marina V, and welcome to No Cover TV concert series. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. The first song I'm gonna do is called "Beautiful Forever." It's from my record "Born to the Stars," which I released 4 years ago. And the song started out as a song I was asked to write for a TV show, and then they didn't end up using it, and then I fell in love with it, and now it's mine. Here we go. It's so hard to find the words. Happy memories only hurt. 'Cause you are always part of me. And I will always think of you. And I will always dream of you. And you will always be beautiful forever to me. Ah, found your picture on my phone, making faces, having fun. Your smile will always shine for me. And I will always think of you. And I will always dream of you. And you will always be beautiful forever to me. I don't know what tomorrow brings, but I know you will always be with me. Ah, ah, and I will always wish for you. And I will always dream of you. Oh, and you will always be beautiful forever, so beautiful forever to me. Oh, to me. Oh, to me.
Woo!
Thank you guys so much. I didn't expect the applause.
Woo!
For the last 2.5 years, I've been doing online concerts streaming from my home, so I never hear, like, it's just like song ends and like nothing. So this is really exciting for me. It's been, well, now almost 2 years since my last live show, so this is really cool. Thank you guys.
Let's
for having me.
go. Awesome.
All right. I'm normally a piano player, but it was too heavy to bring, so I'm playing guitar. So, I thought in honor of my heritage, Russia, I thought I would do a Russian song if you guys would like to hear. Has anybody done a Russian song on No Cover TV?
No.
Series? All right, well, I'll be the first one. That's very exciting to pop the cherry.
There it is. Let's go.
So I grew up in Moscow, Russia, and I came to America when I was 15 years old. And by myself, my family is still in Russia, except for my mom who moved to Australia. And I've been always blessed with having two homes, but also it's the saddest and most difficult thing that I've ever done to leave my home, leave my family, leave the language I speak. So this song is kind of about me longing for my home where I was born. So this is called "Песня о тебе," which means "Song about you." Не держи на меня зла, хотя я знаю, что ты все простил. Если б я могла тебе все сказать, если б я могла тебе все объяснить, а вокруг тишина, только сердце плачет в груди. Если б ты только знал, что я помню о тебе, о тебе. Ты совсем не чужой, хотя я знаю тебе всю жизнь. Если я могла тебе все сказать, если я могла твои раны зашить, а вокруг тишина, только сердце плачет в груди. Если б ты только знал, что я помню о тебе, о тебе. Thank you guys so much.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
God damn. It was. We've had people come and sing other languages here before. I mean, Italian, of course, Spanish. But just to see you put your soul, that seems like a soulful song. Like I feel the pain without knowing the words.
Well, thank you for saying that. It means a lot. Because that's the goal of an artist, to translate what they feel into music, whether the words are there or not. And it's really cool to hear that you feel it, even though you don't understand the Russian language.
And that's why we have that award, Can You Feel It, or that category. Do you know, in the
yes,
music awards?
I'm not nominated in that category, though.
Goddamn, you should be, right?
Yeah, very sweet. Thank you. Is it okay that I don't hear myself now?
Yeah. Because it will,
Okay.
then this loop. So you came here at 15 from
Yes.
Moscow, and what year?
It was in the
In
90s.
the 90s. So you come in. Is this like right as like after the wall falls?
Yeah, so the wall fell in 89 and the Soviet Union fell apart in 91, and I came a few years after that. And I won a scholarship sponsored by American government, actually, to bring young kids to America and represent their own culture by just being in a local small town high school. So I was one of those ambassadors, cultural ambassadors. And later I learned over 100,000 kids competed and they chose only a few, and I was one of the few, and it changed my life forever.
Who did you stay with?
They put us all up in different host families across the
Oh,
United States. The whole goal was to put foreign students into small towns where there are not that many foreign people.
and you're there without your mom and
Just on
dad.
my own at 15.
Hold on.
Now looking back, it's insane that my parents let me go.
Hey, damn it! I can't hear it in my. Like it was going and then it stopped. Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
We'll keep going because I
Check
gotta.
1 2. Check 1 2.
No, I mean like.
All right.
Do you need to hear yourself for this?
Well,
part?
I'm not sure if it's. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
So, in how long do you stay?
So it was a year.
It just and then you went back home.
Yes, I went back home and I realized how much I have changed and how much things have changed. And all of my friends were graduating from school and they didn't count my year in America as a year.
no.
Yeah, and if you remember the teenage years, that felt like the end of the world because how can you stay a year behind? That's like so awful. So they let me take study at home and take exams and just finished high school like that in Russia. But yeah, I was supposed to graduate.
Was your family, your adopted family, your American family, were they very kind? Were they kind?
um,
No, assholes. Fucking Americans.
no, no, but other people around me were very kind.
They were.
So I
Like,
was.
what was it that were they angry at you or?
Well, like they made me clean. They made me clean the house all the time, all the toilets, and then in everything. And then I talked to other students, like, no, nobody makes me clean anything except for my own room and like little chores. But they asked me to clean like everything, and I thought like, okay, maybe that's how they do it. I didn't know. So, and then later I learned they did it to many other students, and they did it for money because they received some stipend for food, which was not even that much. I didn't understand how that was, but they kept getting more and more students just to make more money. So it was pretty crazy. But there were so many other wonderful people around me. People in my high school, I made a lot of friends with teachers and
What city
students.
was this?
It was Springfield, Illinois.
Illinois. Huh? Did you go to Chicago at all?
Oh yes,
You
yes.
did?
And actually, the program that brought me to America, they paid for our travel to DC and to Boston, see how America began, and teach us about the democracy was part of this whole thing because Russia had just come under 75 years of communist rule. This was just autocratic regime really. So part of they wanted us to be there and be an example of a Russian teenager in America, but in exchange, they wanted to teach us to bring back to Russia knowledge about democracy and how it all works, to inspire us, to inspire a new generation of people.
From so you obviously lived for some time period under communism.
I did, yeah.
How do you feel, and what is your first reaction to that as a lifestyle for a country?
Well, the crazy thing is that even though they said it was communist, there was nothing communist about it. It was basically a dictatorship. So they told people what to do, and everything was controlled by the government. So communism, if you define like what it is, it's not that. So it was never that. But it was tough because the government controlled everything. They controlled whether people could move from one city to another. They controlled what job you could get. They controlled if you could leave the country, which most people could not. So like almost every aspect of your life was controlled. Even some people could not choose the job they wanted because said, well, we have enough doctors, so you need to be whatever. So it's like seriously everything was controlled, and it was I was very young when this was all happening, but hearing my mom and my parents, my grandparents, all the stories of how they had to just live on their daily lives, just being told what to do and how to do it. And my aunt said, like, one of her friends from work was fired from her job from reading the book that was on the sort of banned list. It wasn't an officially banned, but kind of banned. It was nothing even like. Now I love that book actually, but like she was fired, and it's like just so crazy. Like the stuff you hear, a lot of it was true, but also because whatever it was, um, there was big financial strain on the country. So we, as like normal everyday people, did not have enough stuff. Like I had one pair of jeans for 4 years growing up. Imagine as a teenager having one pair of pants. So they bought it when I was big, and then by the time I finished wearing them, they were too short, and we had to. Everybody had like the same clothes all the time. So when you're in school, you would know like every kid from far away which who is who because they wear the same clothes every day, just because that's all they have. Just one change of clothes or two at most. So stuff like that, we just didn't have enough stuff. But it was okay actually. It was not like devastating. I think now we have too
What
much.
about food? Like, was there a lack of that?
Yes, there was.
Do
And
you
also,
remember that as a child?
yeah, I do. I remember actually when I first came to America and I walked into a grocery store, I cried. I was just like, there's just so much stuff. I mean,
Wow.
it's too much actually. It's just too much. We have this overabundance of stuff here. But I remember just like walking into the store as a kid, and there was like literally nothing on the shelves, but still there was a person sitting there,
Just
selling
inside,
stuff,
yeah.
because that's her job, just to sit there and sell it when there was nothing to sell, just empty shelves. And so when the pandemic started, remember there was a run on the
Oh
toilet
yeah.
paper. I'm like, been there, done that, It's like it's nothing new really, because there was shortage of everything. Like I'll tell you one story. Clothes or was especially difficult to get. So like I remember a story my mom heard from somebody at work that like at such a place in Moscow they're selling women's boots. So we lined up for 3 days. We took turns. You know how like for concerts, like you take names
Yeah, yeah.
down and whatever. It was kind of like that system for 3 days in the cold. And then when we got to our line, we find like you could not even try them on, and there was no size left that we wanted. So we bought whatever we could and then traded it for food. But I mean, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that was an everyday life. And but like with anything else, like with the pandemic, we've gone through just very difficult times. Yet we all kind of adapt and get used to whatever is around us, right? So that's how it was. It didn't feel horrible. It didn't feel great, especially once we started seeing like they started allowing movies from outside of Russia, so we could see like, oh, there's a such a different life. As a matter of fact, sorry, I'm monologuing.
No, no, I love it.
As a matter of fact, the very first TV show from America they showed in Russia was called Santa Barbara. Does anybody remember that? It was a soap opera in the 80s.
Yeah, okay,
And
I
and
remember
they
that.
bought it for cheaps apparently in the early 90s. So we had that in the early 90s with the first American TV show that they showed on TV. And back then in the early 90s we had like 3 channels. So when they showed it, like the streets emptied out. But I remember we all watched, and like it's a soap opera, and like they live like in a mansion in Santa Barbara, and we were just like, can you believe it? We can't even just fathom that it's like on the moon. And now I live near Santa Barbara,
That's
so
crazy.
it's crazy sometimes.
Do you
I
think
about
at
it.
all could communism ever work?
Well, in theory, it's a wonderful thing.
It's a
Communism,
beautiful
it's all
thing.
about a commune and sharing
Yeah.
together. So it's wonderful. I think it could work on a smaller level. As
Bigger
big
level,
groups
too many
you
people.
get, and then there's always somebody greedy, somebody
Hmm.
wants to cheat you out of something or get something that's not theirs. It's just human nature. But I think it's possible to get close somehow, somewhat, and we should strive to do better for sure. But it drives me crazy when people say, well, communism is like, no, communism in theory is a wonderful thing. And when we had, like, where I lived, it was far from that. It was not communism, it was just a dictatorship under the guise of communism.
Given the
Use a microphone,
the two
sir.
The golden microphone.
Pretend like you know what you're doing.
The way our two governments get along, okay, they're a bunch of idiots, all of them. And what do you think? What are the actual people there think of us?
I would say it's pretty much the same what Americans think of Russians. It's like it depends on the person. It depends on what they know. I mean, but there are plenty of Russians who have traveled around the world now, and they know that people are people everywhere.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I've done through my years of touring. For many people, I was the first Russian they had ever met, and I've gotten asked that question so many times because it is, a lot of older people especially thought like the Russians hated Americans. And at some point during the Soviet Union, at the height of the Cold War, they did. Like here, like you hear like older people like, we were taught to hate Russians,
Well,
know.
that's true. When
Damn Soviets,
growing up, I was taught to hate the Russian
Yeah,
people,
and they were
all going to come here and bomb us and kill us all and everything. But now that as I got older, I started looking into it and realizing that it's our two governments that can't get along. It's not our people. That's the way I see it.
And people are people everywhere, really. I mean, there are good ones and there are bad ones, about the same proportions everywhere.
Have you seen Rocky 4?
Of course.
Okay. When you first watched Rocky 4, were you going for Ivan Drago or were you going for Rocky Balboa?
Well, when I first watched it, it was already here. And it was just funny how over the top it was.
If he dies, he dies.
Funny
If he
enough,
dies,
a few years ago,
he
I had a
dies.
song in the movie with Dolph Lundgren.
Oh,
And it
you
was like-
did?
I know he has heard my music, so that was pretty cool. He's cool.
That's amazing.
All right, so let's reel it back in. You go back home, you study for a year, you graduate. What that put you at? So what do you do after that?
So actually, it wasn't a year. They let me take my time, and I just did it in 4 months. I took-
Real fast.
And then because I spoke such good English, a firm, do you know Schweppes?
Yes.
So there was a company called Cadbury Schweppes, English company, and they hired me as a secretary to the marketing director just because I was very outgoing and spoke really good English, and they needed somebody who could do like basic secretarial stuff and edit documents and stuff. So at 16 at that point, I was 16. I did that, and because things were so, it was quite a turmoil because the Soviet Union fell apart in '91. Mid '90s were really, and late '90s were really tough on people. Most people lost all of their savings and their life, everything they've had. Like my parents and 99% of the whole country lost everything they had. Imagine saving your whole life for your retirement, for the rainy day, and it's in one day it's pretty much all gone when the Soviet Union fell apart. And then people worked, but then there would be like months and months they wouldn't get paid at all. So it's like, and people chose to still keep working because they just like
And for hope.
Yeah, for hope. And what else are you gonna do if you love your job, especially? So my dad was one of those people who worked and worked for months, and he, and sometimes I'd pay him, sometimes I wouldn't. And at that point, I was making more money as a teenager working for Cadbury Schweppes than my dad, who was a nuclear physicist.
Shit.
That's how messed up things were. And so I did really well. And I was, 16, doing really
So
well.
nuclear physicist.
Yeah.
So it explains your piano. All right. What is he doing as a nuclear physicist at that time?
His main job has been to make sure all of the sites where the nuclear materials are stored are secure, so
Okay.
nobody breaks into them. And the not just security from thieves; it's also for health reasons too. So everything would be in order because there are plenty of sites around the former Soviet Union with plutonium, and when everything fell apart. There was just such chaos, a lot of that stuff fell into the wrong hands. And actually, for a while, my father worked with an American team from Los Alamos in Texas, I believe. And they helped, they brought the funds and helped make sure like everything is secure because you don't want that stuff, uranium end up in the hands of terrorists, which has happened over the last 20 so years. So yeah, so he had an important job, but imagine a guy like that didn't get paid for months and months and months and months.
So then after
Messed up, right?
when do you leave? And like,
9 months later, actually.
so this is just what a year.
It
Okay,
happened
this is a
so
great year.
quickly.
9,
So it
10,
was a
11, 12.
crazy
This
year.
is 13 months back, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it was pretty amazing. And then at that point, because I was doing so well, making money, I saved enough money for a ticket to America and got a visa to come to America because every Russian, from many places around the world, you have to have a visa to come to America. You can't just get on the plane and go. You have to have all the proper documents. So it took me forever to get that, and then save the money for the plane ticket and came here. And I had very amazing people, friends of my mom's, actually colleagues of my mom's, who really wanted to help, and they hired me an attorney here to get me a student visa so I could go to college. I was very lucky because I could never afford an immigration attorney.
What state did you decide to come?
I went back to Illinois,
Oh,
but
you did?
I had other people there. So.
Awesome. That's awesome. And then, so you're in college. At what point do you think that you have musical talent?
Well, I've been writing songs since I was a kid. I was singing. My
okay.
mom said I learned I was singing before I talked. I don't remember that myself, but I've always written songs. I have so many songs since I was a kid. Actually, some of them I've revamped and made into my current songs because the melodies were pretty, I still like some of them. So, but the thing is, in Russia, because I grew up in such difficult times, empty shelves and no stuff, and everything was crazy. It was very difficult to even think, what I like to do, because you're just surviving day to day. You're not even thinking of dreams. It's like, what am I gonna do? I guess I'm gonna graduate and get a job and do that because you just. We live in California where there's people from all around the world come here with the big dreams, right? It's very true, and I love that. But in Russia at that time, people really didn't almost dare to dream because life was really harsh. The reality of
Scary to dream.
well, you don't even think you don't even think like that. It's not like I can't dream. It's like you don't even, your thoughts don't even go there.
Just survive.
Yeah, it is just survival. So I've always written songs. I've always played an instrument. Went to a school of music, and I received training for piano, and I can write music and conduct a choir. Anybody wants to? But then so I came to America, and I really, I've listened and heard stories from artists who just started with nothing. They had no connections, no money, and just with their talent and tenacity made their way into, stardom. And I thought, just if that is possible, maybe at least I can give it a shot. So at that point, I was already going to, I started my first year in school at university, and they had a talent show, and I entered and ended up getting the first prize. And the whole school was there, almost 1,000 kids and teachers, and they later people came up and said, I really loved your song. It was beautiful. One girl said she cried at my song. I never played my songs to anybody. Nobody, I didn't even know people could react. I was just excited to play. And then because of the nice things people said, I decided to make my first album, and everybody in school sponsored it. They pre-ordered $10. That's before the crowdsourcing was, crowdfunding was even a term. I crowdfunded before there was crowdfunding because I was a broke student. I had no money, and people, because of that one performance, they liked me, and I asked people on campus if I'd like to pre-order, and I used that money to go to the studio and make my first album. So
And then then it just didn't stop, right?
Then I just kept going, and
You
I
traveled the
started playing
world?
gigs. And at that point, right before I played my first concert, I met a guy, and we fell in love. And he's now my husband. We have a 2.5-year-old baby at home, and we started writing songs together. And we started. He had a hard rock band before me, so he's known how to book a gig and what kind of mic you need to get, and that you need a monitor, stuff like that I didn't know at all because I was classically trained kid in Russia. I knew nothing. So he told me you call a club, and he told me you want to play a show, basically. So we started playing while I was a student at school, and we traveled around the Midwest and booked gigs and made some money and new fans. And then the moment I graduated, we moved to California, to LA.
And how do you come to the Nard?
Well, we used to live in LA for a while, and traveled the world and toured and made a lot of several records, and then we moved to Valencia, and it was so freaking hot in there.
Hell,
And
that's
so we kept
horrible.
coming to the beach, and we used to go to Ventura, but then I discovered the Oxnard Beach Park, and it's so beautiful. And so we kept coming here to escape the heat. And we moved here right before, like a year before the pandemic started. Just fell in love with
The weather's
Nard.
awesome here, huh?
It is beautiful, and people are really nice, and just everything is lovely.
It's like the perfect weather, like for anything, you know.
It's amazing. My only beef with this, it's called the Nard, and so it's not really a beef. It's our well kept secret, right? We know how awesome our town is, even though it has a questionable name.
Well, you're also nominated for a Ventura County Music Award.
Yes, sir. In 4 categories.
In 4 categories?
Are you like, what about it?
As of right now, no, probably next week it'll be up. But we have the site is down. It crashed. There's too many people voting
Oh, wow.
in 2 different categories. One of them being cover category. There's just too many votes in there,
Jeez.
and it just shut it down.
That's
And
not the first time in history that's happened?
first time it's ever happened.
I'm sorry. I hope because I messaged you right away. I'm like,
At
what's
the-
happening with the site?
We have
We've
it.
been sending
We
people
put
to
the
vote.
ticket into the IT, but they're not going to get back to us till Monday, so you don't know when it's going to happen. We put it in Wednesday, and then they talked to us yesterday, and then we tried to call back today, and no one was answering. So now it's back
That
to
sucks.
Monday.
I'm so sorry because it's a really wonderful thing you have going, and I've been sending my people. I do my online concerts, and every stream I said, "You guys go vote for me," and so I doubt I'm not in the cover category. My people did not crush it.
It's been an amazing time that we just had with you, and I'm so grateful to have learned your life and learned your struggle and learned how beautiful your art is.
You're so amazing. Thank you for your nice words. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me here.
No problem. Thank
Before you leave, can I ask a real quick question? What does the yeah, I know you have it on your hand and on the guitar. What does that represent? Does that mean what does a meaning to that?
I started drawing it when I was a kid, and it's not a tattoo. It's a tattoo
Sure.
eyeliner. But it's kind of become my thing because music business is quite cruel. I've spent a lot of time in LA, and it's cutthroat, and sometimes people are just atrocious to each other. It's awful. And sometimes I would just be so depressed and frustrated trying to make my way through the industry. I realized I started to lose my love for the reason for my music, for why I make it. And so I started drawing this flower on my hand. So every time I look at it, that's like a little reminder, like, just relax, do what you love, and forget the assholes. Sorry. Because there's plenty of that in LA.
It's so easy to lose your soul and the reason for doing your art,
Of
what you
course,
love.
because there's so many things that then, like that growing up, right? Like you start as just a, wide-eyed kid, and then like all this stuff keeps piling on, and it can beat you down.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt for a little while there, for a lot while. So my little flower kind of, and then I started drawing it everywhere. And then when these nice people, actually, it's an Australian company.
Yes.
You don't think this is weird now?
It's a lot of Australian connections we're making right now.
They custom made this guitar for me, and they put my flower in it.
Let's give a shout out
and
to
Russian
Australia.
stacking dolls on the neck.
Oh, I noticed that too. It's just I thought you were from Australia just because I heard your voice because we talked back and because it's just too much to text. So we did, you know how sometimes we talk and I just talk instead of text.
Sure.
I did that to her and she messaged me back and I just noticed the accent. And when I looked at her picture, I was like, oh, Australian. Put my phone down.
We still should have gotten that flag out here, right?
Well, we have it.
Here it is.
The reason why we have the flag is we're actually being syndicated in Perth,
That's really
starting at the beginning of the year. So,
I haven't yet been to Perth. My mom lives outside of Sydney, so
oh, she does. Yeah.
I love that. That's lovely.
What is it? Our station called FRN1.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
really cool.
So yeah, beginning of the year. We just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Vote for Marina V. Let's also show our appreciation. Give it up one more time for Marina V.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Good morning, Canada. Or Australia, sorry.
My name is Tim Amoroso. You're watching No Cover Presents Red Light Dish Show. This is Marina V. Marina V, where can people find you?
MarinaV.com. My
MarinaV.com.
website is there. Everything, all the links to my socials, everything is there. All my music, bunch of music videos. I do streams on Twitch. I'm a Twitch streamer these days.
Let's
So
go.
all the links to all my schedule, everything is there. MarinaV.com. Thank
All
you
right.
so much, Tim.
One more time. We'll be right back after this.